Okay. Now recording is going on, therefore I'm starting the lecture now. On the other day we have discussed about the water and water molecule and what kind of structure it has, and when it comes to the liquid, when it comes to the ice, when it comes to the vapor, and what kind of interaction they have with the water and water molecules, and like the physical and chemical structures and their relations we have discussed earlier. Now today we are going to discuss about the water activity and food systems, because when we consider the water is a major component of most of the foods. I mean that the major component means in the one way, if the water amount when we get the composition of the product, if the protein, lipid, carbohydrate, vitamins, and different phytochemicals, and then when we consider the water, in some products water is having a higher percentage. What is I mean in for some foods it's having the 95% water, and rest of the 5 is compiling by the other components. But not only that, there is a one way we can discuss about the water in relation to the food products. The raw material, especially sometimes the dried raw material, it is having less water component, and but other components, therefore because of the less water component, we can see that it is having a higher component of the higher amount of the other component, for example protein, fat, lipids likewise. But in the case of here, the water is not in that way, not the percentage wise what is the amount which is available in the product, but in the other way that water is really supporting for a different type of the chemical reactions of the product. The chemical reactions as well as the microorganism growing, and kind of for different ways what is supporting. When we consider in that way, even when we consider about the food matrix or food system, it is also having a major role or playing a major role to make a product. For example, when we talk about the sensory attributes, to make that product good to okay, or sensory okay to us. That means the taste or the color, or if not so the texture or aroma or whatever the thing. Sometimes the water is playing a big role to let us know that this product is it's a good for you kind of message they will give. In the other way, that the shelf life extension and keep the product for a longer period, and to stop the spoilage of the product, in this way also the water is playing a big role. Therefore, keep in mind the water is having a two roles. The one is to give us the message about this product is good. In the other way, the good means as a sensory point of view, as well as the safety point of view. So in two situations, what is playing a big role, right? Keeping that mind, so we are today going to discuss about the water when the water is inside the food matrix or whatever the product, raw material or the processed products or the dried product, whatever the product, what is the role of water inside that the product, right? Earlier, I think under the principles of food science, even you have learned about the water activity and the moisture absorption isotope, right? Moisture absorption. The water activity is normally we can write it at what is the definition? It's a vapor pressure of the foodstuff relative to the vapor pressure of pure water at the same temperature. Now you can see if we in these two pictures shows that when we consider the food is producing a lesser water amount as a vapor to the headspace. We are talking about this the empty space is a headspace. So whatever the closed system, we call it as a name headspace. Head, H-E-A-D, head space, S-P-A-C-E, right? Therefore, the food is, when we put the product into the closed system, then the food produce the less water amount compared to the when we fill the same closed system by the pure water, because pure water producing more water vapor always compared to the food. That is why always water activity, the highest amount is the 1, and all the for any kind of product it is lesser than that for all other products, right? You know that. Then the water activity is the measure of the availability of water molecule to enter into microbial, enzymatic or chemical reactions. Now, when we consider this a microbial, enzymatic or chemical reaction, we here we consider that the whether water molecule to enter into microbial, enzymatic or chemical reaction. That means water molecule should have to be in a free situation to enter this reaction. If the water molecule is not in a free situation, it can't. If it can't enter to the any kind of reaction, even microbial situation or the enzymatic or the chemical reaction. That is why we always consider the what is the free amount of free water in that product, because that free water always try to support for these kind of reaction. So the microbial reaction mean that product microbial reactions mean actually it is not a reaction, but microorganism can use this water molecule to their survival. So when it is surviving, it is producing more and more and more microorganisms. That means the multiplication is going on. If the water is not available, they don't have media, therefore the multiplication is not going on. That means the spoilage can be stopped. In the case of enzymatic, again I mentioned you earlier, even if the enzymatic action, that if the enzyme is available there, then if the water medium is available there, then enzyme can move very freely with the substrate, and the it can find out the substrate can go and join with the enzyme. Therefore, the enzymatic reaction is going on. In the case of chemical reaction also, it is also the same, because it produces a medium, water produces the medium to carry on the chemical reaction. Therefore, then now you can understand, but for all the situation, free water will be supported all these to carry on these kind of reactions or actions. It can be, the water can be represented by the symbol A, capital A, and it is not the capital A, the bigger A and small w, subscript W. The availability determines the shelf life of the food, as I mentioned you earlier, how this water is supporting for a microbial actions, enzymatic reaction or other chemical reaction. Regarding the forms of water, bound water is inversely related to water activity. And as the percentage of bound water in a food increase, the water activity decreases. As the percentage of bound water in a food increase, the water activity bound water in the food is increases, the water activity decreases. As the percentage of bound water in a food increases, the water activity decreases, because that bound water is not supporting for to become a water vapor, right? Therefore, that bound water is not support or not enter to any kind of reactions or activities. Therefore, though if the bound water increases and if free water decreases, the water activity definitely decreases. Right. Then the water activity is calculated as ratio of the water vapor pressure of the substances divided by the vapor pressure of pure water and same at the same temperature. And I think you have remember that I have shown you some graph. In the same water, same temperature, the moisture absorption isotherm, there should be only one MSI. So if we want to draw a different MSI, then definitely we have to change the temperature. Therefore, in the definition of the water activity also it's mentioned in the same temperature. That means we have to measure the water activity in the same temperature, the vapor pressure of the food product as well as the vapor pressure of the pure water. Vapor pressure can be measured by using the manometer. And where water activity is water activity, P vapor pressure of water in food, and P0 is vapor pressure of water at the same temperature. In simpler terms, water activity is a measure of relative humidity. By multiplying, because relative humidity means the relative humidity mean that what is the water vapor pressure available in the environment. So here we are going to measure that the relative humidity in the closed system. We put our product to inside the closed container and then measure the relative humidity of the environment. That is the way we are measuring the water activity. The second point, by multiplying water activity by 100, the relative humidity RH of the atmosphere in equilibrium with the food, RH percentage or ERH, is obtained, right? So that is why all the time, I think you have remember how you are going to measure the water activity. Then you are using the container, and we input the container to the machine, and then we measure it. Therefore, as the system is closed, then we can say it is a water activity. When we consider the ERH, right? ERH, equilibrium relative humidity of a product, is defined as the relative humidity of the air surrounding the food at which the product neither gains nor loses its natural moisture and is in equilibrium with the environment, right? So this is the ERH percentage equal 100 into water activity. So that is the other way we can get the water activity. Therefore, the water activity we can get ERH divided by the 100, right? So in the both equation you should have to know. So if I have given you these values, then you will be able to calculate the water activity, and then accordingly you will be able to decide that whether you can keep this product for a longer period, or what kind of chemical load, the microbiological load, the other different enzymatic action can be happen in the product likewise. So if you know this information, you will be able to interpret the situation, and you will be interpret whether you can keep this product for a longer period. So when the food manufacturers they decide whether their product can be keep for a longer time, they decide by using these kind of information. The water activity of some foods are given here in this table. The pure water, always, as I mentioned, it's a 1, and the other one is fresh meat is a 0.985. Now you can understand that the water activity is really high in the fresh meat. Therefore, that means free water is there a lot. That is why we can't keep a fresh meat or the fresh fish for a longer period in normal environment, because microorganism can be active as well as whatever the enzymes inside that the meat or the fish products, they can act a lot. So that is why the product can't keep for a longer period. In the case of milk, it's also the same, 0.97. But in the case of milk and fresh meat, we know that in the case of milk, it's a liquid. Therefore, you can think, okay, it's a liquid. Therefore, there are a lot of water is available. Therefore, it's a obvious likewise. In the case of fresh meat, but you can't see any water molecule there compared to the milk. It's not viscosity or thickness is very high in the fresh meat. I mean, the viscosity is very high. In the milk, viscosity is low, and the Y is a 0.97 and 0.98, right? In the other case, bread 0.96, right? Now you compare these three products, water activity is really high, but those three products is having different physical situation. I mean, physically, by seeing our eye, by seeing the product, one is the solid one. It's just once you press it, the meat is coming out. It's not going, it's keep it like that. And the surface appearance is totally different, and the taste is different. when we take the milk, it's a totally different. Sensory attributes are different. The bread is a totally different, but all are having a high water activity and can't keep for a longer period, because whatever the water, because bread, when compare the milk and bread, moisture content is totally different. In the bread, moisture content, it's a, I think it's a 45, yeah, 45%. Likewise, in the moisture content of the bread, and the milk is really in the more than 95, 97, 98. Likewise, and the fresh meat is again around let's say it's a 90%. But when compared to these three things, is having different water content, but even water activity is more or less similar, right? Therefore, you can't keep this product for a longer period, because now I think you can understand the role of the water activity is really important in this case to keep the product for a longer period. In the case of fresh meat, right? In the case of fresh meat, to keep this product for a longer period, what we can do? We have to dry the product or we want to freeze the product. Once we freeze the product, what we do? We bind this moisture, and because moisture means H2O molecule. By freezing, we keep it as it is. We reduce its moving here and there, because we lock the free bound water also frozen, and it's locked and cannot participate for any kind of other activities. That is the way we can keep this product for a longer time. In the case of milk, sometimes we can add sugars, and we subject the milk to make a yogurt or the curd. What we do there, the moisture is there, but we trap the moisture because of with the protein. In the curd, once we add we reduce the pH, therefore we can trap that moisture with the protein molecule. Accordingly, that water molecules are not supporting for the different kind of action. That is why we can keep milk after subjecting to make a curd, right? I know that you know that what is action of the protein. We have learned those in other principles of food science. Think about that. In the case of bread, so in the case of bread, because when compare the fresh meat, milk, and bread, we can, in the bread you can't keep for a longer period. So you have to dry it. Then we can call it as a bread, right? Therefore, in the case of bread, sometimes we have to add some preservatives to bind the water molecule, and then we can keep it for some period. When we consider potato chips again, it's a water activity is 0.8, but potato chips are not supporting for a microbial action, because there are some water, but those water is there, but as the lipids are there, then microorganism cannot react with the moisture available in potato chips. Therefore, potato chips can be kept for a longer period. But in the case of potato chips here, I mean that not the dried one, just the fried chips, right? Not in the coming the packs. The other flour is at 0.72, and raisins 0.60, and macaroni 0.45. Then you can get some idea about how we can keep this product in a normal environment without having many changes to the physical, chemical, and nutritional composition because of the water activity. Some foods are stable at low moisture content, whereas others are stable at relatively high moisture content. Now you can see in some products are whether the moisture content is high, even those products are relatively stable. Example, peanut oil deteriorates at moisture content above 0.6%, whereas potato starch is stable at 20% moisture, right? Peanut oil deteriorates at moisture content above 0.6%. Now, it is oil. We know it's a oil. Peanut oil is oil. But when the moisture content is higher than 0.6%, that is less than 1 even, but you can't keep it because it's going on, the density is going on. But in the case of potato starch, it's stable at 20% of the moisture even. So what is the situation? So therefore, because whether it is oil or oil, then small amount of moisture is enough to carry on the hydrolysis reaction or the rancid reaction. That is why it is becoming deteriorate or rancid, uh, though they have low moisture content. But in the case of potato starch, is stable even 20% moisture, because available moisture is not supporting for a reaction, because potato is having sugars and therefore those sugars bind with that water, right? Water is related to moisture content in a nonlinear relationship known as moisture sorption isotherm curve. The relationship between water content and water activity is indicated by the sorption isotherm of a food. Then the plotting of the uptake term absorption or the loss of water term desorption provides a record of water activity of a particular food at a particular temperature or varying levels of humidity in the environment. Therefore, the plotting of the uptake term absorption, right? So the moisture sorption isotherm, there are two for particular product at the same temperature. We can draw a two sorption isotherm. One is the absorption, that means the uptake of the water. The other one is the desorption, it is the reducing or losing the water. Therefore, the particular food at a particular temperature over varying levels of humidity in the environment, right? Because once the product is taking the water inside to the product, when we talk about the resin, let's say, when it take the product inside there, the water is getting, whatever the providing water vapor to the environment is different compared to the when you are drying the same product for a in a normal environment, because it is providing different moisture content. So that is why it says that that is the reason we cannot overlap these two, absorption and desorption moisture isotherms together, right? Because the varying levels of humidity in the environment, it's producing different levels of water vapor. The plot of absorption is not identical with the plot of desorption, right? Here you can see the absorption and desorption isotherm, the moisture percentage. Even when you write, just draw a line parallel to the y-axis in between 3, at the level of 3, right? Just by imagine that drawing a line at the moisture percentage of 3.3, then you can see that the desorption water activity and the absorption water activity is two different, a big difference is there. So can you let me know what is the, when we draw a graph, draw a line, even at the point 2, draw a line parallel to the x-axis, then let me know what is the water activity, just type in the chat, right? Draw a line and what would be the water activity in the desorption and what would be the water activity at the adsorption. Parallel to the 2.2, draw a line parallel x-axis, draw a line from point 2. Type it in the chat, then I know that you are in the lecture. Anyone? Anyone? No? Any people? Oh, you can tell me. 0.3 desorption line, here the 0.3, nearly 0.3 desorption and 0.8 adsorption, right? Now you can see the desorption 0.3, desorption means, what is the meaning of desorption? Desorption means water is removing, water is losing from the product. It's a moisture content point, when the moisture is 0.2, then the desorption one, it's having 0.3 water activity, and but in the same moisture content, water activity is 0.8. Now you can see during the adsorption that the free water is available a lot. So that is why you can understand that adsorption situation, water vapor in the environment by producing the food product is a lot. Therefore, water activity has an important role in food preservation. Each microorganism has critical water activity below which the growth cannot occur, right? Therefore, when we consider the different microorganisms, what are the different microorganisms available in the environment? There are the categories, fungi are there, molds are there, then bacteria are there, and those are having a different, those can survive in the environment in a different situation. Therefore, each microorganism has critical water activity below which the growth cannot occur. For example, pathogenic microorganisms cannot grow at water activity below 0.86, but yeast and molds are tolerant at, and usually no growth occur at or below 0.62. Different though we call it as a microorganism in a big category, but inside the microorganism, even the pathogenic microorganism, yeast and mold, those can act in a different water activity situation. That means they can survive with low water activity, and in some products, and some products need more water for their survival. So the water activity is important in foods, and it is a major factor in food spoilage and safety. Now you can understand why water activity is important, because if we want to keep the product for a longer period without happening microorganism growth, then we have to think about not only the pathogenic microorganism, we have to think about the yeast and mold. So that is why that before you get this stale odor from the bread, you can see that the mold and yeast, and especially mold and fungi growth on the bread slice once you keep it for a longer time in normal environment. So water activity is important in food, and it is a major factor in food spoilage and safety, because when we consider the safety, there is major two things: the chemical safety, or the integration of the chemical safety, as well as the microbial safety. Both we have to consider, because the chemical safety means that when the product is there, the chemical reaction is going on, and it is producing a different type of the final products or the end products. That those end products can be a toxic one. Therefore, you can't consume it. In the case of microorganism, also the same. Then if the water activity is very supportive for them, then they grow a lot, and finally it will be effected for the that the product is not microorganically safe. Therefore, the decreased water activity retard the growth of microorganisms, slows enzyme catalyzed reaction, and retards non-enzymatic browning. Lipid oxidation rates are high in water activity values, from a minimum at 0.3 to 0.4 to maximum at 0.8. So now here it's giving a kind of range. In this range, what happened to the microorganism, what happened to the lipid oxidation, what happened to the chemical enzymatic browning, what happened to the chemical reaction. Likewise, then we can get some idea about what will happen to our product if we can keep the water activity in that level. Right? Accordingly, food manufacturers, when they produce the food matrix, even the food scientists, they have to decide in which water activity we have to keep this product. Because water activity mean in the other way, it's a keeping water or the H2O available in the product in the system. If we consider it's a weight, when we consider the weight of the product, when we add the water means we add more weight to the product. More weight means more money for the manufacturer or the seller, because you know that most of the products we buy from the market is because of the weight. So weight is mentioning. In the other case, when we consider about the volume, even volume we can increase a lot or decrease a lot when changing the H2O amount, water amount available in the product. That means that the volume means the other way, it's also the money. The weight and the volume, definitely we can convert into the money. Therefore, food scientists should have to think about what is the most suitable water activity for this product to keep for a longer period and keep their sensory attributes and keep the product as a safe product. So therefore, normally we cook products at the home and kind of thing, but when we consider the food manufacturing, it is a total different story and it's a complicated story. That is why we want to study about the role of water in relation to in relation to the product safety, and that is why we want to learn a lot about the water and the food chemistry, right? Relationship of food deterioration rate as a function of water activity. So when we consider about the rate, right? So the rate, now you can see this picture. I know that you have seen under the principles of food science, but we are going to learn this figure in a different or in a depth under the food chemistry. Now you can see as I mentioned you earlier, the mole growth, yeast growth, bacteria growth is having in the end area, near to the 1 of the water activity. But the enzyme action activity is going on from 0.3 to 0.8. And the non-enzymatic browning also going on from 0.2 to 0.7, and then it is going down when the water activity is increasing. In the lipid oxidation case, also I have discussed earlier, it's decreasing and up to the 0.3, water activity decreasing and then increasing to the 0.8, and later on we are not talking about the lipid oxidation, because in high moisture, high water activity means the higher moisture content is there in the product. That means water activity is we need not to discuss about water activity, because we can't say it's a lipid oxidation is going on. No, in that area lipid oxidation is not going on, because then the lipid is not prioritized in the food matrix in more than 0.8 water activity. That is the reason that line is not continuing from the 0.8 onwards, right? So with water activity at 0.3, the product is more stable with respect to lipid oxidation, non-enzymatic browning, enzymatic activity, and the various microbial parameters. So the nearly 0.3, now you can see, because lipid oxidation is decreasing. That means it's a favorable situation when consider the food product. And also the non-enzymatic reaction is in the 0.3 is a very low level, and therefore it's negligible. Again, the enzymatic activity and the microorganism growth is no more there. Therefore, when we consider 0.3 water activity, that means the product is in a very safe situation, right? More stable. We call the word stable. As water activity increases towards the right, the probability of the food product deterioration increases. The water activity increases toward the right. That means when you go to the right side of near to the 1 in that area, the probability of the food product deterioration is increases. Now you can see in this picture, even 0.3 up to 0.3 the product is very stable, But when it's going on to the moving to the 0.8, 0.9 water activity levels, you can see the microorganism growth increases, rate is increasing, mean all the actions are going on very higher levels. So therefore that means product stability is not there. For decreasing water activity and thus improving the shelf life of the food is by the use additives with high water binding capacity. But in the other situation, now here, if we can, if the water is available, but still that available water is not supporting for a different actions or the reactions or the actions, then we can keep the product stable for a longer period. So how we can do it? How we can do that the water is there, but even that the water is not supporting for a different type of reactions. It is not available for the microorganism reaction. It is not available for the enzymatic activity. It is not available for the non-enzymatic activity. It is not available for the lipid oxidation. Or then we can say the product is stable. So to do that, what we want to do is basically we know that the free water is available, then all the kind of reaction is going on, microorganism growth can be happen because it's a freely available. Then what we can do is we will we use the humectants and keep the water molecule bind with this salt or glycerol or sucrose sugars, and then it's a bind, and now that water molecule is not available for different reaction. Therefore, in that way only we can keep the product for a longer stable, keep the product stable, and but still water moisture content of the product is little bit high, right? Therefore, that is the reason that under the additives, the humectant we are using, that is some humectants are the common salt, glycerol, and sucrose, right? The salt I mentioned in the previous day, how salts are binding with the water H2O molecule, how salts are binding with each other. Then when we call about the glycerol, also the same, right? And because glycerol also binding that this H2O molecule, and then it's producing the glyceraldehyde, and then it can bind with the water. And the other case of the sucrose, even sucrose also having the plus and minus areas of the sucrose molecule. Therefore, the sucrose can join with the or bind the water molecule. So even that the other case, normal we call salt, glycerol, and sucrose soluble in the water. Therefore, if we can use that the solubility, so when the compounds, if we can use to those compounds are soluble in water, that means we can trap that water, we can bind that water. Therefore, we can keep the product for a longer period. Especially glycerol, we are not using in the case of food product. Basically, in some situation we are using, but not commonly. But salts and sucrose we are using. That is why we use salted products we can keep for a longer time. So the sugar or the once we sweeten product we can keep for a longer time. For example, honey, that the honey is by honey, water in the honey is bound with the sugars. Therefore, those are not supporting for any kind of reaction. That is the situation that the earlier days the people put meat and different products in the honey and keep for a longer time. And if not, even now, even we put the salted products we can keep for a long time. Fish and the dried fish and the dry meat, even we can keep the product after salting. And also the other thing is salt and reduce the pH, even pickle even we can keep for a longer period. Right. The effect of water activity in food stability is showing in this graph. I think you have referred this graph under when you are in the second year even. So they study this graph, the most bacteria, pathogens, and spoilage functions. What is the water activity and what are the products in that water activity level, and what kind of reactions can be going on, right? So for example, if we consider about the very top level, that is most bacteria and pathogenic and spoilage organisms are growing at the greater than 0.95 water activity. So what are the products? For example, fresh meat, fish, vegetable, food with less than 40% of sucrose and less than 7% of sodium chloride. Now they are mentioned fresh meat because sometimes we can add the fresh meat with salt. But if the salt content is less than 7% even, you can't keep the product for a longer period. In the fish, even if the salt percentage is less than 7, you can't keep the fish for a longer period because most of the bacteria, but then it can spoilage microorganism can be grown in that situation, right? So I think jam, marmalade, you can see in the most moles. Most moles, no pathogenic bacteria is growing at the jam, marmalade, or aged salami. Is still water activity is 0.80 to 0.87. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth level, right? Fifth level, you can see most mole and no pathogenic bacteria are growing at 0.80 to 87. The jam and marmalade. So what is the situation? Jam and marmalade still water activity is 0.8, but you can keep it for a longer period because jam and marmalade having a lot of sugars. Therefore, whatever the free water available, they are bind with the sugars, right? But when we go to the last level, 0.65, breakfast cereals, snack foods, food powders, those are having a very less water, 0.65, because no growth of microorganism. The breakfast cereals is sometimes is having some sugars actually, and snack foods also having sugars, and food powders also powder, and those things are that snack foods and breakfast cereals having low moisture content, as well as sometimes is having a very some low amount of sugars, right? Whatever the available moisture also bind with the sugars. Now when we consider the moisture absorption as some characteristic, you have learned those things. Let's see again, and plot the amount of residual moisture on dry weight basis as a function of water activity. Highly product specific. The water activity is highly product specific. I mentioned you earlier, even when we consider the product, that the even different temperatures, it's a highly specific. So only one you can draw absorption or desorption, one, whatever the one, only one you can draw at the specific temperature. Highly temperature dependent, affect chemical, physical reactivity of the food and the dynamics of water transport. And absorption and desorption, there are two curves you can draw, and absorption used in shelf life determination. Therefore, especially when we consider the moisture absorption isotherm, we consider it's very helpful the absorption isotherm compared to desorption isotherm, because when you think about the absorption and desorption isotherm in the same curve, that even in the same moisture content, this absorption absorption MSI is showing a higher water activity. Therefore, when we consider the shelf life of the product, we have to consider the absorption isotherm, not only the desorption isotherm. So therefore, if I ask the question from you, why that in the shelf life determination we are considering the absorption isotherm MSI compared to the desorption, then you will be able to answer that question. So therefore, the small question can be coming from these small points. Therefore, you are really need to study this situation in depth. When this figure also you have seen under the principles of food science, the strongly bound monolayer water, lessly strong bound water layers, and capillary adsorbed water, and the other one is solvent and free water. Now, even in the same situation, you can see here even let's say if we are going to draw a line in at the 10th level, water content is percentage 10, then what would be the in this one, and what would be the desorption water activity, what would be the absorption water activity. So the 10th level, 10% of water content. Can you type the answer? 10% water content. So you have to join with me with the lecture. ෂේප් එකේ හිතියට හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ලෙක්චර්ස් පටන් ගත්තට පස්සේ නැගිටවල ප්‍රශ්න අහනවා. ඒක දැම්මම ටිකක් හුරු වෙන්න. Anyway, type your answer. නිදාගෙන ඉන්නේ කට්ටිය. නිදාගෙන ඉන්නේ. What is the answer? (0.64) absorb. Huh? Absorption. I haven't tell you any absorption. It should be adsorption. So someone asked the question from me on the other day, that's what's the meaning of absorption? Absorption is a totally different meaning. We are not discussing regarding the absorption. It is okay. So as the student mentioned about the word absorption, ABSORPTION, absorption is a kind of the solubility actually, because the absorb means the what is getting inside and soluble and bind it, then we call it absorb, right? But in the case of the desorption and absorption are two different terms. In the foods, as a food scientist, we are using the word adsorption and the desorption, right? So the adsorption means when the dried product, when we add the water, so what kind of MSI we can draw. In the other case, desorption means the wet product or the moist product, when we reduce the water or lost the water, we can draw a MSI, that is a desorption. So don't use the absorption word AB. If you are using the AB word, then it's wrong, right? So the answer is desorption 0.10 level එකේදී. So 10th level. Desorption one I can see is a 0.3 and 6th level, right? The other one is for example here this level is 0.3 something, and this level is going to the nearly 0.73 likewise. So now you can see that two different moisture water for same water content, but absorption and desorption curves are different. And for the same product, so you can draw two MSIs at the same temperature for the same product, and therefore accordingly the adsorption one is most important because it will decide the product safety, product stability, and everything. So the zone 1 behaves simply as part of a solid, therefore those are bound with the other material, therefore it's simply as a part of a solid. Tightly bound water ion and water dipole interactions are there. So the water and ion and water and dipole interactions are there, therefore this water is not freely available for any kind of reaction. To reduce the water activity to very low level, if not so you can't remove that the bound water. Basically it's really difficult and unfreezable at 0-40 and least mobile, no ability to dissolve in solutes. Even if the salt is available there, but this bound water is not bind with the salt, no support for a bind with the salt or the sugars or kind of thing, because they are already bound with the other components. Zone 2, intermediately bound water, loosely bound in secondary binding sites of the food and less mobile than free water, most of them unfreezable at -40. intermediately bound water. Therefore, sometimes some molecule can combine with the other, or join with the salt or the sugars and kind of or other component. But basically, it's a loosely bound in secondary binding sites of the food, right? So therefore it is less mobile than free water, but it's mobile but less mobile. Therefore, there is some in that area that water can be store molecule can be go for a reaction. But zone 3, it's a bulk amount of water in food in this zone. Therefore, unbound water can remove by slightly dropping water activity. That means if we are removing, let's go to the picture again, by changing a small amount of water activity, so you can get to do that, you have to drop the water amount a lot, right? It's again the same picture, rate of deterioration reaction as a function of water activity. At a very high moisture content, as the reactant become diluted, lipid oxidation tends to be reduced. As rate expressed as logarithmic values, small changes means large change in reality, right? Therefore, especially we are talk about the reaction rates. Reaction rate also we talk about the logarithm log values. Reaction rate, I think you have learned under chemistry even reaction rate is given as the log values. So therefore, the rate is expressed always as a log value. Therefore, if we do the small changes mean large change is the real situation, right? Therefore, when we consider in this point, when you think about the graph and think about the rates, and you can see it is changing a lot. Most chemical reaction become zero before the monolayer value less water is available as solvent, right? So here that especially the graph is drawing moisture content and the water activity, but the graph is showing the reaction rates. Therefore, the small changes of the change in these two things, water activity or the moisture content, that the reaction rate, actual situation of these products are ranging a lot. That is why it says that the most chemical reactions are going on, and therefore when we change the moisture content, reaction rate is changing a lot, maybe going down or maybe increasing. So the most chemical reactions become zero before the monolayer value less water is available as solvent. So think about that the region 1, you can see when the water activity come to the region 1, most of the chemical reactions are not happening. That means that is why the milk powder and when we consider with the water activity even 0.5 even, right? When we consider water activity 0.5, even in that level, most of the chemical reactions are very slow down. And that is why the milk powder and very flour and different type of products is having very low water activity, because chemical reactions are not going on. That is why you can keep the product for a longer time. But to keep the product for a longer period, you have to maintain the environment, very good environment. We produce it by producing the packaging, and therefore inside vapor or the vapors, whatever the thing, it is not going to the outside, and outside moisture, whatever the other vapors are not coming to the inside. That is why, especially in the case of that food milk powder, you know that the H is filled by the nitrogen, and product is very safe, and the pack is very strong, and it is immobile for the many vapors, moisture, nothing, right? No mobility is there, cannot go inside or cannot come outside. Therefore, in this situation, packaging is really important. We are talking about only the product here, but when we talk about in the actual situation product, the packaging is supporting for maintain the situation. Then shall we discuss about the water diffusion. What is the water diffusion? Now, when consider the cheese, the water activity is 0.85. When we consider the cracker, it's a 0.30. But both products you can keep in a normal temperature for some period. So the cheese cracker system, when we close this system, right? When we consider the closed system, so what will happen? Here the water activity is high in the cheese, but cracker is water activity is low. When we consider the both system, that you can keep the product in like that. So what is the water diffusion? So if you keep the cracker and the cheese in the same environment, what do you think and what will happen to the cracker? Or what will happen to the cheese? If you keep the cracker and cheese in the same closed system, what will happen? So give me few answers, and always few students are joining with me to the lecture in the discussion. You can use the microphones and tell the answers, or if not, type the answer. And please type the answer to see everyone. Thank you. Sorry. Right. Here again, when we keep these two things in the closed system, definitely that the biscuit will getting a soggy nature, because that the whatever the available water in the cheese can be, because the cheese also produce the water vapor to the product, because the water activity is high, 0.85. Though we can keep it for a longer period, the stable product, water activity is high, 0.85. Therefore, the producing water vapor to the environment is a lot compared the cheese than the cracker. Therefore, if the both products are in the same system, the whatever the water vapor produced by the cheese can be absorbed by the cracker, because cracker water activity is low. Therefore, it is very happy to absorb more water. That is why we can't keep crackers or the biscuit in a normal environment for a longer period. Maybe 1 or 2 days, you can see, need not 1 or 2 days, even 6 hours, you can see that the soggy nature of the biscuit, because water is low, but it is happy to absorb water by environment when we keep the open environment for them. That is why all the biscuits have to keep in the packaging material. You can see it's a very flexible, but even it's a very impermeable for the moisture or the other vapors or other gases. Impermeable, word is impermeable. Permeable being can be transfer, can be go through. Permeable can be go through, but impermeable means can't go through. So you will learn, you have to learn that technical terms. How to limit the water diffusion? Therefore, the water diffusion can be happen. Whatever the higher amount of water is available in the product, water diffusion can be happen. So by matching water activity of the component of the food by adding humectant to lower the water activity of moist component, for example, glycerol or bee honey, sugar, salt, these kind of glycerol, those three things are working as a humectant because those are trapping water, though water is there. For example, honey. A good humectant lower water activity without impacting organoleptic properties or safety of food. It's readily soluble and should not crystallize. That is the things are important because now the salt is crystal. It's available in the crystal form. Sugar is available in the crystal form. But when we added the product to the salt or the sugars to the product, it should not be in crystallized form, because if it is still in the crystallized form, means that lattice is form in the same molecule. So NaCl, sodium chloride, if they are producing the lattice for themselves, it's a NaCl molecule. If it is a sucrose, then the sucrose molecule. But if it is once we add it to the product, even if it is still in the same lattice situation, that means it is not binding any kind of water. Therefore, the good humectant should be readily soluble. That means it should be combine with the water or the bind with the water and make another system with water. And it should not crystallize, mean if it is crystallized, mean definitely it is makers that is form for that molecule, then it is not available for the soluble in the water. Therefore, the good humectant 3 points is mentioned here. Water is a lower water activity without impacting organoleptic properties or safety of food, readily soluble and should not crystallize, right? But in the case of good humectant, sometimes when we add the sweetened taste sugars, it will give sweetened taste. But we have to maintain the product quality, not to produce much sweetened taste, but still it is a sensory acceptable taste is all right. ගොඩාක් සීනි දාගෙන ගොඩාක් ඒක මේක දැන් හොඳයි කියලා දැන් honey type එකට තියාගන්න බෑ. අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණය විතරයි අපිට දාන්න ඕනේ. Whatever the required amount we have to add. it is salt දානවා කියලා මේක ගොඩාක් කල් තියන්න salty product කරගන්න බෑ. So when we produce the product, when we produce the food matrix, whatever salt is supporting to reduce the water activity to whatever the required level, නැතුව ඒක ගොඩාක් දාගෙන ඒක ලුණු කරගෙන කන්න බැරි තරමට තියාගන්න බෑ. Therefore, as a food manufacturer or the R&D person, then අනිත් පැත්තෙන් if you think about the nutritionist even, so the lot of sugar and lot of salt is not good, but you have to recommend the whatever the foods for the patient. Then in that situation we have to consider these facts, what is the available sugar and what is the available salt amount, and whether it is a free or not, or whether it is supporting to keep the product for a longer time. ඒ වගේ level එකක් you have to be accepted in relation to the nutritional point of view, sensory point of view, as well as the product stability point of view. Blocking the diffusion path by packaging foods, and that is a component of it. That is why we can blocking the diffusion path, as I mentioned earlier, by packaging a food. Then the biscuits are in the separate component. in the whatever the other biscuit, different types of biscuits are in a different situation, and the milk powder in a different, cheese in a different package. That is why packaging is needed, because packagings make a closed environment for the product, and therefore you can block the diffusion paths of the water diffusion paths, right? So therefore the same type of products only in the same package අර ඔක්කොම cheese උයි biscuit උයි milk powder උයි තව මොන හරි ඔක්කොම එකට දාලා pack කරන්නේ නැහැ. So now you can understand why the importance of packaging system or packaging to keep the shelf life of the product, to keep the stability of the product. මේක තමයි point එක. අයි packaging introduce කරන්න කියන එක. From the outside the environment, nothing come to the inside. Not only safety, සමහරක් වෙලාවට අපි හිතනවා it's because of the safety to safeguard the product from the microorganism growth, we need that the packaging. Sometimes you may think like that. No, not only that, that is the one reason, but to block the water diffusion or blocking the diffusion path, we need the packaging material, package for the food package. Adding a moisture impermeable barrier between components. Therefore, though we are using the package, even if we are using the moisture permeable packaging material, you can't keep the product for a longer time. Therefore, all the time you have to use the moisture impermeable packaging material to make that as a package. So, example, chocolate layer in frozen ice cream cone. Right. Now, in this case, actually, sometimes we are using the artificial synthetic packaging material, but later on under the packaging, when the FST students will be learning this, and this is the eatable or the we can consume, that the layer, chocolate layer is the first packaging material of the frozen ice cream cone. Even cone එකත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙන්නේ, because then කාගල්ස් කෝන් එකේ මරම් බලන්න ඒකේ අන්තිම හරියට වෙනකොට කෝන් එක අර කෝන් කියන හරියට එනකොට there is a chocolate layer is there. ඔයගලන්ට then if you are the chocolate ice cream you are consuming, there is you can't see it separately, but if you are going for a fruit and nut or the vanilla ice cream cone, you can see the chocolate layer is there. So what is the reason? ඒකෙන් ice cream making cone එකට ඇතුල් වෙන so the moisture diffusion block a little. ගොඩාක් කරන්න බෑ, නමුත් යම් ප්‍රමාණයකට ඒක block කරලා තමයි තියෙන්නේ. The other thing is chocolate layers are sometimes even that ice plums even it's you can see the chocolate layers. That chocolate is not the chocolate that you are eating normally in the different type of chocolate, but that is a very thick chocolate you can see. So stickiness is high in that chocolate. Therefore, as a food scientist or the food students who are learning food chemistry, always when you are eating something, when you are observing something, when you are handling something, please check that the ඔක්කොම ඔළුවේ තියන් බලන්න ටිකක් ඔළුවට දාගන්න. දැන් still we learn only the water, but later on we are learning about the protein, carbohydrate, lipids kind of thing. ඒකට පස්සේ at the end of this course module, once you get the product, ඒකේ අර ඇතුළ තියෙන food matrix එක ඔයගලන්ගේ ඔළුවේ නැවෙන්නම ඕනේ. නැවිලා ඒක කොහොමද link වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අන්න ඒ ටික. So it should be imagine in your mind, make it, this is the kind of product. So if you can develop your mind or your thinking level to that level, even you will be able to become a very good food scientist as well as the nutritionist. But nutritionist කෙනෙකුට දැක්ක ගමන් යාට තේරෙනවානේ මේ product එක මෙහෙමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක තමයි මේක මේ හදලා තියෙන්නේ. So if you can get that idea, and after this course, that means you will be able to recommend the people ingredient list එක දැක්ක ගමන් you will be able to decide මෙහෙමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ ටික දැනගන්න ඕනේ මේ course එක ඉවරනකොට. ඒක තමයි the water එක මම මෙච්චර depth එකට කරන්නේ, because it's a really important part. අනිත් ඒවත් ඒවයි එහෙමයි. But now you can understand that compared to the PFS water section, now food chemistry water section is sometimes the same thing, but we are discussing in depth to understand whatever the reactions going on inside the product, right? Without food chemistry, you can't think about the product development or nothing. Then chocolate layer in first. Then make ඔයගොල්ලෝ note කරලා තිබ්බද? Have you noticed that the chocolate layer is there in the frozen ice cream cone එකේ? Have you noticed that? Yes or no? And have you thought that what it is there? The flavor taste. Have you thought that this is for a taste to give a good taste? Therefore, keep your eye very sharp to when you observe any kind of food product. Right. So now it's time 4. So 1 hour has gone. The closest Clapeyron relationship. වචන චුට්ටක් wording even bit අමාරුයි වගේ. The amount, what is it? What is this closest Clapeyron relationship? So why we are learning this kind of relationship? The amount of moisture that can be held at a given water activity changes, usually goes down with increasing temperature, right? Once we increase in the temperature, the water activity will be changing, especially usually it goes down. So what will happen here? Because whatever the free water molecule it's removing as a vapor. Water activity at given moisture content increases with increasing temperature, right? Water at given moisture content increases with increasing temperature, right? That is, let's see that, now you can see this picture. It shows that the 5 degrees, 15 degrees, 35 degrees. Now you can see in the same level, right? In the same level, where water content is the same, but when you are increasing the temperature, constant water content is there. You can see in this picture that in between water activity 0.6 to 0.8, you take that small square dotted line is given here. In parallel to the x-axis, you can see in this picture, you can see in the same water content, but when you draw a line parallel to the x-axis towards 1, you can see that the water activity is increasing. But sorry, water activity is increasing when the temperature is increasing. All the time, I mentioned you that the water activity temperature, so highest MSI curves you can draw in the lowest temperature, because you can see it's a lineup 1 by 1, 3 lines are there, and at the 35 degrees centigrade you can draw the lower level line. Lower line means a line is coming to the moving to the bottom, right? In the top level is a lower temperature, and higher temperature is going down. That means water activity at given moisture content increases with the increasing temperature. These temperature dependent changes result in changes in the isotherm shape and provide valuable information about the product's response to the temperature fluctuation. Now we should have to get some idea about what will happen to our product when the temperature changes, because the moisture is there in the product is the same. Whatever the moisture in the product is the same. But if we are, because when we are during the transportation, or once we keep the product in the shop shelves, and during the manufacturing and then during the storage, the temperature of the product will be changing, fluctuating. If we are producing a product the 20 degrees temperature, but sometimes if you are transported to the Jaffna or some other places, so you can understand that the temperature is high. Even at the AC room, it's a supermarket, it's around the 25 degrees, but at the home it's a 32, 34, and the last in the January, it's a very high temperature. It's around 37 or 30, nearly 40, sometimes the Colombo 40. Then even the same product, once you keep the product in the different temperatures, then you can see that how the water activity is changing, right? So if the water activity is changing, products response, then we should have to know what kind of response will be given by the product. Though it's a package, it's a packed product, correct, biscuit or whatever the packed product, but you can see the water activity is fluctuating. Fluctuating means water activity is increasing. Water activity increasing mean what would be happen to the product? Then product can go for a product stability is lesser or going down, and therefore your product cannot be kept for a longer time than we compared at the 20 degrees centigrade. Because during manufacturing we can keep the product at the maybe the temperature is 20 degrees, but when we consider about the keep it the shelf life, the book shop shelf, it may be a supermarket 25, but it's in the normal groceries or the other shops maybe, or the retail shops, it may be 40 or the 37, 38. Then you can't keep the product for a long time. Sometimes you may notice that the Walmart biscuit taker, sometimes if you are getting it from the supermarket and got take it very rasa venas වෙනවා. Normal retail shop taking ගන්න එක. You can soggy nature you can observe. That is happening because of the product එක හිල් වෙලා එහෙම කියලා හිතන්න එපා. ඒක වෙලා නැහැ. package එක හිල් වෙලා නෙවෙයි. But inside the temperature is, when the temperature increases, water increases, therefore the nature of the product or the stability of the product will be changed, right? So that is why we want to know that these temperature dependent changes result in changes in the isotherm shape and provide valuable information about the product's response to temperature fluctuations. So don't think that so the food manufacturing companies, they have to think those things even. So they're just mixing the things and make a product is not a product development. I know that the FST students are doing the product development. Even normally I am the examiner, so the product development course, therefore, you have to prepare for this kind of question. If I ask such kind of question, you will be able to answer. What will happen? Then by using the scientific knowledge of yours, food chemistry, you will be able to answer the question. Luckily nutrient කටියට අහු වෙන්නේ නැහැ හැම chance එකක් ගත්තාම, but that is the thing, right? Then when we consider this graph is a bit you can see complicated, but it's give a lot of information to you that constant water activity water content in the y-axis and the water activity is in the x-axis, and even the different temperature what will happen, even the some water content. Now consider this one. Water at if it is the same water activity here or the same water activity in this level, basically take this one, nearly 0.3 water activity. But when you draw a line like in the parallel to the y-axis, you can see at the 35 degrees centigrade, water content, water amount is at 35 is lower when compared to the water content is at 5, right? At 5 okay, the water content is higher, but the water activity is the same. But in this way you can get some idea, and also on the other way you also can get idea. Then the two dotted lines are showing you the very important information in relation to the how that product is behaved. Now can you understand clearly? So the water is just not a H2O molecule. It is not just a H2O molecule. It is totally changing. That H2O molecules can totally change your product quality, product stability, product safety, product sensory attributes. That is why we have to consider that what is really important when under the food chemistry subject. Now go to the next slide. It's a very complicated equation is there, where T is absolute temperature and delta is heat absorption and R is gas constant and water activity is also given. Now the equation is given, and you can see the increasing moisture content, what will happen. Moisture content M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, the moisture content is increasing, and logarithm ln, logarithm water activity levels also, it's in the y-axis. Now you can see even that it's changing, right? For example, it's even the changing the smaller amount of temperature, even you can see how these things are changing, right? Because the y-axis shows that 1 over the temperature in the Kelvin is giving. 1 over temperature means by changing a temperature by a smaller amount even, because එක බෙදන්නේ temperature එකේ temperature, it's maybe temperature 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever the thing. Therefore, you can see the moisture content is, you can draw lines like that, increasing the moisture content, right? And I'm not going to explain much, but this equation we call is a Langmuir equation. The theory of monolayer molecular adsorption to multilayer adsorption with the following hypothesis. So the Langmuir equation is talking about the monolayer molecular absorption to multilayer absorption with the following hypothesis. The one is gas molecules physically absorb on a solid in a layer infinity. There is no interaction between each adsorption layers, and this theory can be applied to each layer, right? Langmuir equation. And where these things, equilibrium constant, grand pressure or concentration, and also is the fractional average of the surface by absorption. It's a bit complicated, and the wood engineering are involving in this situation. However, so the Bruno, Emmert, and Taylor, Taylor is a beta isotherm, an extension of Langmuir theory is given. So likewise, so there are many equations are produced. The one is this one, Clapeyron relationships also there, and then the Langmuir equation is there, and then Bruno, Emmert, and Taylor beta isotherms. Likewise, there are a lot of engineering or the equations are produced to understand how when change in the water activity, or when change the moisture content of the product, then how the product can be behaved. So those things can be identified, these things, but under the food chemistry, we should have to know these kind of things are there, but we are not going to learn we're not going to worry about these things, because we are focusing in a different way, right? So therefore here it shows that surface area of the food particle. So the S is monolayer volume, Avogadro constant, cross-sectional area of the adsorbate, molecular weight of the adsorbate. So those kind of things are depend on the surface area of the product. Now, normally we know that when the water is absorbed to the product, that product can be expand or the swell. So that is a normal situation. We know that. But the thing is, even that that surface area will be increasing, not or decreasing, not because of we can see it. But the thing is, there is a theories are there. There are some theories, and therefore that monolayer volume and the monolayer volume is there, that whatever the monolayer volume, it is sometimes a constant. You can't change the monolayer volume. So therefore once the water absorbed to that volume, then after that you can't another water, whatever the available water is in that product, is a free water. It's becoming a free water. Monolayer available එකට ආවට පස්සේ ඉතුරු water ඔක්කොම free වෙනවා. Therefore those are available for a different reaction. Therefore Avogadro constant, ඒ ටිකත් ඔක්කොම everything is there when we consider this a surface area of the food particle, right? So that is why that in the food chemistry or when we consider the food matrices, we have to consider about the particle size of the product even. That the fly එකක් ගත්තත් it's a particle size එක important වෙනවා. Whatever the part, that is why then chocolate එකක් ගත්ත, chocolates, even chocolate particles are available, because sometimes we can see that it's a globules, or the fat globules is a particle. But here fat globules cannot absorb some water, but those also can bind with the water. Therefore, that monolayer volume is important to discuss about the product stability and safety, and also the other characteristics of the product. Then the phase transition. So the wet monolayer and the phase transition. So I will stop today the lecture at this point, and I will upload some reading material for you. So because from this point to the onwards, the next day, I think on the Thursday we have lecture. on that day we are going to finish all the water content, and if you have any question you can ask. Please ask please ask students, so because this is some peak time today, because but I want to take the lecture now, peak time. Therefore, on the Thursday I will take the lecture in the morning. Therefore, you will be able to join with me, a lot of people, rather than this is a live, but later on you know that this after recording means it's not live. Therefore, rather than you can stay with me in the live lecture is much better, and also please ask question through the chat. No problem. Questions අහන්න. ඇහුවොත් තමයි තේරෙන්නේ අනිත් අයට. අනිත් අය තමයි question අහන්නේ නැහැ. මොනවද මේ කියන්නේ කියලා අහගෙන ඉන්නවා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් පොඩ්ඩක් හරි තේරෙනම් questions අහන්න. එතකොට ඒ ටික discuss කරන් යනකොට වඩා හොඳයි. මොකද මම හිතන්නේ ඔයගලන්ට I think that you have got every point කියලා. නමුත් මම දන්නවා ඔයගලන් ඔළුවේ වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ හැම point එකම මොකද්ද මේ කියන්නේ කියලා. මම කියන තරම් ඔයගලන්ට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැනේ. නිසා question අහලා අහන්න. දැන් උනත් අහන්න. If you have any question please ask through the chat එක තියෙනවනේ. Anyone can see what you are asking, right? That the earlier actually Oshadi කිව්වා මේ ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. එයා ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ කිව්වම තමයි මට තේරෙන්නේ මම mic එක off කරලා කියලා. මම chat එක දැක්ක නිසා. නැත්නම් මම තවත් කතා කරන්න යනවා කවුරුත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. Thank you Oshadi for telling me that එයා කිව්වේ privately අර ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. යාට තමයි ඔක්කොටම ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලන් live ඉන්නවනම් එක වඩා හොඳයි, because you know that this is not just a lecture එකක් විතරක් නෙමෙයි, මේක ආයෙ repeat කරන්න නැහැ, right? Okay, what else?
Hello, madam.
Oh yes.
Madam, I have a question, but it is not subject related.
No.
Madam, some student couldn't be able